either rise or you fall. I'm on a mission, bringing my dreams to fruition. I ain't playing at all. Bring out the body bags, I'm about to kill them, deliver them to the mortician. I gotta do what I gotta do. That's for my face, black in my face. I gotta do what I gotta do. I pray to God, he never came. I'ma do me, I'ma do me. That's in my blood, I'll never change. This is the toast of the underdogs. Now we doing it our way. Light 'em up, Molotov music, let's all lose it. Burn 'em up, set a fire to it.
Welcome back, guys. The Lolo Down episode 3. Welcome back to the podcast. We're going to be following this format where we do a radio show, then a podcast, then a radio show bi-weekly. So we're going to be following that regimen from now on. But for this episode, I'm Jacob Cooperman, joined by my host,
Gerry Sullivan.
Gerry. We've got a stacked line up this episode. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, man. We could start off with UFC. I know you didn't see a lot of the card, but you saw some of the fights, right?
Yeah.
Which one? When did you stop watching?
Just the first couple, but once it, eventually I discovered it was a bizarre Saturday night for me because I watched a couple of the first fights. It was guys I'd never heard of, and then I discovered that through my Comcast subscription, I get the new NBC Peacock streaming service for free. So then I kind of delved into that, and I just watched 30 Rock for like the entire night.
What else do they offer there?
It's just like a bunch of like old NBC shows. So like right now, the two big, like a couple of the big ones are like 30 Rock or Parks and Rec, and then at the end of the year, The Office will move off of Netflix and go to the new Peacock thing. So
interesting.
I don't know if it'll remain free for me forever, but it currently is right now. I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, my family, we did the switch from HBO over to Showtime. We get Stars, we get all of those like weird tertiary streaming services. We have there's like 5 or 6 of them, and I mean there's some good content on there. I feel like because there's a lack of competition with the smaller streaming services that aren't like Netflix or like HBO, they usually have pretty quality content, but people just don't look at them because they're not too mainstream.
Well, actually, pro tip for you, that was a good choice because we get HBO for free at Iona. So
well, that's true. I wonder if we get HBO Max, that new stuff that's coming out.
I don't know about that, but we get HBO Go.
I was like, no, we're not giving you. Relax, we're not giving you HBO Max. You're getting so much already. All right, so I guess we can get into the fights here. I think it's safe to say that both of us are Cowboy fans. Donald Cerrone.
Yeah, but he got his butt kicked again, right?
No. I think he got robbed. I think he on the feet fought the more sound fight. Now both men were kind of coming in, landing flush, connecting. There was a lot of shots that I think should have put either parties away. I know a lot of people say that Anthony Pettis took control of the fight in the 3rd round, like later on. But for the most of the fight, I mean, Cerrone he took him down twice. He was controlling the ring. He was being aggressive. He was answering back with combinations. He was starting to get into his stride. And the thing that I kind of had Cerrone. The thing I wanted Cerrone to do coming into this fight, the key that I said Cerrone would need in his victory in this fight was if he could get off to a rhythm early. He could get the ball rolling early, and that's exactly what he did. He came out aggressive, which is something we don't usually really see with a guy like Cerrone. Like, when he got stopped by Conor, he needed time to kind of get into his rhythm, to start. I mean, that's the main reason that Conor was able to stop him, is because he didn't let Cowboy get into his rhythm. So I thought Cowboy fought a great fight. I thought he got robbed. The cards were close. It was a split decision to Anthony Pettis, but in reality, man, Cowboy fought the better fight, and I think this shows an upwards trajectory for Cowboy. He's got about 4 fights left on his contract now, his big money fights given to him by Dana. So we're going to see how he does in the next fight. I think he's going to improve. I just don't think he got a fair shake in this one. I don't know if you saw the Francis Ngannou fight versus Jardinho Rosenstrike, the 20-second affair.
Oh yeah, no, that was brutal.
That was ridiculous.
I mean, I did see that fight. I saw the entirety of it because it was like a 20-second. That was tough.
Talk about a guy that and I know I've said this before too, if that guy can let his hands go and if he can start throwing combinations, it's over. It's over. He's such a powerful and physical force. I mean, the guy's like 6'5", 250, just all muscle. And if he got into this little slump when he challenged Stipe Miocic for the title, where he wasn't letting his hands go, and then Stipe was able to control him for the large majority of the fight. But we saw in this fight where he can come into a fight, and if he doesn't have any inhibitions, if he can let his hands go, that's a dangerous Francis Ngannou. And that's a Ngannou that I think can have a renewed title shot now. I think definitely if I'm Dana White, I'm putting him back in the title conversation in terms of heavyweights, and I think he definitely is a more upgraded and a more substantially, let's just say a more calculated Francis Ngannou than he was before. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how he pans out there.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And you could touch on the rest of the main events first before I ask this question, because it has less to do about the card the other night. So I want to, let you finish your analysis of the card before I ask the question.
Okay, well,
so,
then
I don't know.
let me ask you this then. Did you see the co-main or the main or any of those? No? Okay, well, I mean, I guess I'll break it down for the viewers then. The co-main was pretty entertaining. Dominic Cruz got stopped with a knee from Henry Cejudo, who promptly retired shortly thereafter. Just dropped the mic. Two division champion. He defended his bantamweight that night. Just kind of dropped the mic, retired, said, "I'm out. I'm done. I'm not gonna be doing this anymore." I thought it was a beautiful way to end his career, though I don't think he's gone for good. I thought Dominic Cruz, coming back from about a 4-year absence, fought a pretty good fight. I think it was the same thing with Cowboy, except Dominic just didn't get the ring rust. I think kind of took a toll, and he wasn't able to get himself going in time or in as much time as he had wanted. He was starting to land. However, again, that ring rust takes into account for a lot of the mistakes that we saw him make. And like I said, the last one was fatal. Knee to the face. He was getting himself back up. He didn't really agree with the stoppage. I kind of agreed with the stoppage. He looked like he was out on his feet when he stumbled backwards, and he was unintelligibly defending himself. 11 unanswered strikes on the ground. So, I agree with the stoppage. I don't think this is going to be the last we're seeing of Dominic Cruz for sure, though. I think he's still the same Dominic Cruz. I think it took a little bit longer to get it out of him than we might have seen in last fights. And then for the main event, I mean, Tony Ferguson is a robot. I don't know if you saw any of the highlights, but Justin Gaethje was hitting him with bombs. Bombs that would have put anyone else out. Tony Ferguson is just a tough, rugged fighter. I think definitely this fight we're going to see some long-lasting damage from this fight, because when I tell you, Jerry, he was getting pieced up, but I think it was starting with the third round onwards, and I'll make this brief because I know we got a whole podcast left here, but man, like from the third round on, he just wasn't answering to Justin Gaethje's shots. Gaethje was picking his shots. He was connecting big with the shots that he threw himself into, that he sat down on, with the shots where he was putting about 10% less, which is something his corner had talked about. He was connecting well. I mean, this is a much more calculated Justin Gaethje, and I think the only course of action for him next is Khabib. Because when you can make a guy like Tony Ferguson, who's a renowned USA wrestler, not even attempt a shot, attempt one Amari roll in the 4th or 5th round, I don't even want to know what's going to happen to a guy like Khabib. Obviously, Khabib's on a whole other level, but I mean, it's just what I saw from Justin Gaethje is championship caliber, and he was a champion in the World Series of Fighting. I think he's just getting more and more acclimated as he gets more and more opponents in the UFC. He's fought, Donald Cerrone, Edson Barboza, so it's just it's a matter of time, and I think that kid's destined to be a champion. But that was my analysis. I just wanted to give it to the viewers at home. I have a question. Sorry, I have a question for you now. Yeah, go ahead.
So we're seeing the tide kind of turn here, right? Like NASCAR's coming back this week.
Right.
Golf is making a comeback next month. Mainstream sports like MLB, NBA are going to be back within the next month or two. Plans are in place, at least for baseball. For baseball to return, a month and a half from now.
Same with the NFL, right?
Yeah, well,
A little less in stone, but yeah.
But should the UFC, in order to get like the maximum, because like in order to get the maximum amount of viewership possible, should the UFC go out and schedule like a mega fight, like mega card before all these sports come back? Because right now UFC is a very unique opportunity where like they're kind of the first one to come back that people will pay attention to. So, like, is the pressure kind of on them to schedule, like, a fight? Because I'm going to be honest here, as a casual fan, and there are many casual fans out there like me, that if you throw Masvidal or McGregor or Nate Diaz on the card, I'm going to buy it. But when baseball comes back in July...
Straight over to baseball.
I'm probably not going to, really be thinking about it because I'll already have my sports fix in. If you schedule a McGregor or a Masvidal or a Diaz or whoever you schedule... I'm going to watch it. Does the UFC have to do that, or are you not really concerned about it? Because they have, like, a major opportunity to capitalize on this, and I'm not the only casual fan the other night that was like, I don't really feel like dropping the $70 on this pay-per-view. Most people I never even heard of.
Well, I think it's very interesting that you said that. I think it's great that you brought that up, Jerry, right? That card, this past card, UFC 249, had a little bit for everyone. It was more on the devoted MMA fan type, like guys like me that have watched for about 4 years, guys that know maybe some of the less known, household name fighters. To me, at first, this was that card, right, where UFC could assert itself. I think just based off of the fact that people didn't have a lot else to watch, they were going to get some increased gate numbers, some increased, not gate numbers because, nothing's open, but increased television view ratings. I think if they have the opportunity, a fight, and I was thinking about this for my prediction, I think a Conor and Masvidal fight is in order. Another mega card just to set the record straight. I think this was a great start. You had guys like Donald Cerrone on the card. You had guys like Sergio Pettis, he's sort of bridging the gap between casual and hardcore viewer fan due to just basically activity and how much he fights and the guys he's fought in the past. And then also Francis Ngannou because he's, He's knocked people out in the course of 20 seconds, so who's not going to know about him? But I think this was a good start. I think this was a primer. I think if you want, like you were saying, if you're the UFC, you squeeze one more in, right? You can get a Conor Masvidal headlining fight. You can get, I'm trying to think of who else would be like a house, maybe like a Nate or Nick Diaz, or even I've heard whisperings. I was listening to a podcast earlier. I think it was the MMA show with Ariel Helwani, that talks are in consideration for a GSP, Georges St. Pierre, who just recently got inducted into the Hall of Fame. Congratulations to him. There's whisperings of him coming back too. So it's going to be really interesting. I think there's a lot of cadence to your point there. I think if they can kind of follow this card up with an even better card, where you can get a bit, even like one or two big draw names on the card, I think. Yeah, like you said, people aren't going to have a lot else to watch, and they're going to be tuning in.
Oh, plus, not only that, let me just lay out the scene, though, too, of what's about to happen for those people that don't really know. Major League Baseball thinks they have a plan in place to start spring training back up around mid-June, and then July 1st, around July 1st, start the regular season, right? And, baseball might not be the most mainstream sport, but once baseball comes back, that opens the door for the NBA and NHL to come back, and then their postseasons would likely begin the minute they come back. I mean, they're not going to, there was little regular season in both sports left, and I doubt they're going to play any of it. I think they'll just start some type of playoff format when they come back. So those guys are going to take the headlines, and then once those two sports comes back, that opens the door for the NFL and all the college sports to come back, right? So the UFC doesn't have much time left to be the only guys around, because if baseball is able to make it come back, every sport is going to come back. Whether it's fans or no fans, people are still going to watch it on TV. So with more competition, there's going to be less viewership. It is what it is. So UFC, in my opinion, does need to put some type of mega card together in order to capitalize on the fact that they are literally the only guys around right now. If you want your sports fix, this is where you get it. And if you a Conor McGregor, Jorge Masvidal, a mega name like that, that'll get people like the casual fans like myself to go and drop the $60-$70 on the pay-per-view, because that's all we have until July 1st. But once July 1st rolls around and baseball comes back, and
It's
then
gonna be a lot more
hockey and
competitive.
basketball, kind of sprinkle back in, I don't know if I'll buy it anymore.
That's very interesting. I think I'm in agreement. I can't, it's gonna be competitive once everything comes back. It's gonna be cutthroat, especially like you said with NBA coming. So it's gonna, UFC's on a time frame. I know they have some other cards scheduled for this weekend and then the Wednesday coming up after that. But they have some cards outlined. I looked at the cards. It's kind of the opposite of what we were suggesting. Like, it's a lot more names that you might not recognize if you're a casual fan, but it's more for, I think.
I'm actually more likely to watch right? Because the UFC with the ESPN Plus now, like, not every event is a pay-per-view if you have the ESPN Plus subscription. I'm actually more likely to watch the free ones than I am to watch a card like this weekend, because if it's guys I never heard of but it's free, I already have ESPN Plus. I'll tune in, but if I have to drop an extra $70 to watch people I've never heard of, then I'm not going to watch it. But like a card like next weekend where it's free to me to watch, or
I assume it is, yeah.
ESPN subscription, a very cheap alternative, I'll watch that instead.
And I think also, I know I said that it's not really ingratiated to the more casual fans, but the guys that are on this card are great in their own right, and they make for some great fights. Like, Dana knows what he's doing. He might not be able to lock down the bigger fights right now, just for whatever reason, and I don't think it's purely due to the fact that Corona's going on, if you want my professional opinion. I think there's a lot that goes into a big money fight like that, and I think it's a sensitive time right now, even also, considering Corona, even though Corona doesn't have a lot to do with it, but, there's just more that goes into it. But Dana White is slowly becoming, to me, one of the best promoters we've seen in a while. The guy knows how to make a card. He knows how to promote it, and I think he knows what the people need right now. So, shout out Dana White, even though I've heard some bad insider trading stories.
Hey, he's a Boston guy. Don't you dare say anything about him.
We want to move on. I guess you were saying that there's not a lot in terms of entertainment right now, but I'm sure anyone that's listening to this, anyone in general, has probably tuned into the MJ documentary. It was The Last Dance. It was episodes 7 and 8 this weekend. Yep, this Sunday. I watched 7 last night, and I watched the rest of 8 today. I thought it was very interesting, and I'll get off on the foot of your topic or your professional opinion on this first, because I have some stuff I wanted to say, but I figure you can lead us off on this one.
The 2 best episodes of the series, in my opinion, without a doubt, the 2 best episodes so far in the series, which is saying a lot, because I thought the Dennis Rodman and Phil Jackson episodes were great. I thought these 2 were awesome. I thought they were easily the 2 most emotional episodes, and I don't know, it also kind of shows that not a lot's changed between 1993 and today, that it's still pretty toxic out there. I mean, can you imagine today if somebody's father died and they turned around and said it's because of the kid's gambling problem? Bizarre to me, but I thought it was extremely emotional. I thought it was a good look inside, who Jordan was. I mean, all-time story. What was the guy's name? The guy from the Bullets, who he just made the story up about after he dropped 36 on it.
Yeah.
He just made that story up about him being like, nice game. Mike completely made it up so he could turn around and just humiliate the guy.
That's the thing about Jordan. That's the thing about Jordan, man. Like, I think you were saying on the last episode, Jordan's the type of guy, and I was thinking about this too while I was watching. I said, Jerry's right. Jerry's correct on this. Jordan is the type of guy where he is so self-motivated, but he needs that extra push, to where the coach of the Seattle Supersonics at the time, when they went out to dinner, he didn't say hi to him. And to anyone else, that would have been a choice interaction. But to Jordan, he's like, all right, well, now I'm going to internalize that, and I'm going to use it to torch this entire... if you talk about Gary Payton, it's just stuff like that. And you see Jordan laughing and watching the tablet, and he's like, he didn't get one over on me. Like, that was a laugh, but it got to him. Jordan's just that type of guy, where everything needs to be competitive. So I thought it was a really good look into his mental and his, like you said, the emotional side. I had no idea his father died. Rest in peace to him. I didn't think necessarily it was the best 2 episodes of the series, but I thought it fleshed Jordan out very, very well. I will say that.
Well, I think, the one thing too, just going back to I mean, the guy holds grudges, right?
Yeah.
And he still clearly holds them to this day, whether it's with Isaiah Thomas or whoever. But I think it all translates to what he said last episode when they were like, "Does Michael Jordan have a gambling problem?" He was like, "No, I have a competitive problem, but I don't have a gambling problem." And I think that's he's ultra competitive. Everything's a competition for him, and it still is. And I don't know, he's just, I mean, number one list of athletes that I just want to spend a day with. Michael Jordan's easily at the top after watching this. I mean, he was near the top before, but he's easily at the top now. He just seems like a fun guy to be around when he's in the mood. Because as Scotty Burrell said too, like on the court he was a jerk, but he was
a good guy off
the court. But yeah, I thought these two were the best episodes in my opinion because it gave us our best look at Jordan, because that's what it's all about, right? Like it's fun to learn about Rodman and Pippen and Jordan, and I mean Phil. In that Pippen story last night about him refusing to go into the game when he drew up the play for Tony Kukoc.
I wanted to get your opinion on that. Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting insight, but in the end, it is about Michael Jordan, and I thought last night, between the comeback, it kind of showed he was a little human. I don't know. I thought these two were the best at just exposing like who Michael Jordan, not exposing, but giving us a look at who Michael Jordan actually is.
Right. So 3 things that I wanted to bring up after you said that, and you highlighted a lot of the stuff that I wanted to say personally, right? You had the gambling through line, which I thought really didn't need to be in the documentary. If I'm being 100% honest with you, that whole through line where they had the woman from NBC Sports talking about how his father's death, they hinted at why it was so asinine that people at the time and media at the time, which they still are, were so vicious with Mike. But then they bring on this woman from NBC Sports and she said, well, the timing was just really suspect. I thought that was really just not necessary at all to keep that in there.
I think that was the point, though, is to say, like, it was so asinine, but nothing's changed because she still kind of is like, well, you don't know for sure. It's like, you do know for sure.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, no, there's no correlation there. Stop fishing, Right, it's ridiculous, man.
I thought that was actually a good thing because it showed that it was so stupid at the time, and people are still stupid enough to right now be like, oh, you never know. It's like, no, you do know it didn't happen.
Yeah, I thought also that this particularly episode, I believe it was 8, did a good job at showcasing, and a little bit of episode 7 when you talked about Scottie Pippen not coming off the bench. These 2 episodes did a great job of not only fleshing out Jordan, but that that Bulls team, because when they were talking about how dominant that 95-96 Bulls squad was, how they had a winning percentage of .870. Like, that's ridiculous. I think that's just above the Golden State Warriors, which was another statistic they put out there. This team was like one of the best of all time. And then also, going back to the Scottie Pippen thing, when he didn't come off the bench, I think that could have been just attributed to him, being in the leading position. When you have a guy like Jordan on that squad, and you're not getting a lot of, I mean, sure, you could be considered, I'm sure Scottie is, as being Jordan's number 2. You're not necessarily getting enough or as much press or praise as you might want. Then you're suddenly thrust in that position. You're like, hey, listen, I've got a lot more leverage. And then, he kind of felt that leverage being taken away again because, another guy was getting the shot instead of him. I think it was just more a temper tantrum. I don't think it was indicative of Scottie's personality. And, obviously he apologized afterwards, but it was interesting to see.
Well, one thing too that I don't think the documentary highlighted enough is like, yeah, Scottie Pippen was at the time a top 5 player in the league, and he obviously doesn't get the respect he should get now because when you talk about the Bulls, you don't talk about Scottie, you talk about Jordan. But I think one thing too that the documentary didn't highlight enough in this specific episode was the fact that last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, when they had the whole Tony Kukoc thing with the Dream Team, right? There was a little bit of beef there, right? Like, it wasn't Tony Kukoc's fault, but they were kind of trying to get out Krause. And Scottie especially took a special offense to that. The fact that Jerry Krause was so into Tony Kukoc and calling him the future of the Bulls while he was still there. Like, he took actual offense to that. But now moving forward, Phil Jackson in the first playoff run that Michael Jordan's not there is drawing up plays so that Tony Kukoc could take the game-winning shot instead of Scottie Pippen, who was obviously better than Tony Kukoc, but Scottie felt slighted by Tony Kukoc immediately, and then, Phil draws up the winning play. I think that had a lot to do with it too. So I don't know if maybe I'm wrong, but I thought the documentary probably could have flashed back to that too, because some people might not be thinking about that time like, oh yeah, that's the guy that they legitimately hated while they were playing against him in the Olympics. Now he's taking the game-winning shots against Scottie Pippen. I don't know. And I think I was watching SportsCenter afterwards, and they had, Scott Van Pelt had Michael Wilbon and Jack McMullen on, and I forget which one of them raised the point, and they were like, well, what if Michael Jordan done if Phil drew up to play for
would have said hell no
instead? And number one, he would have said hell no, and number two, it didn't happen because Michael Jordan was not there. I also just think that would have never happened in general. But
no, definitely not.
But I think Michael Jordan would have been like, no, that's not going to happen. I think Michael Jordan would have got his way, but
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know.
He's Michael Jordan.
Talking about what Scottie Pippen did 25 years ago. He apologized for it. I don't know why, but.
Well, they briefly touched on it, so it was interesting to see. It was interesting to see how, like, I think, and it plays into also Jordan not being there. And, you know, the episodes were talking mainly about Jordan. And I think episodes 9 and 10, and I want to get this take from you after I get in on this a little bit here. I think episodes 9 and 10 is just going to be the collaboration of every single story arc, the finalization, and just mashing everything. I think it's going to be an epic conclusion. I think we're going to see all the storylines, because that's kind of what I've seen so far, is we get a segment of every person's kind of, you know, their deal at the time. You got Dennis Rodman, you got Scottie Pippen, you got Jordan. I think we're gonna see everything come together. Obviously, The Last Dance, and just finalize. So I'm really excited for those last episodes. But I just really quick wanted to say, I think it speaks, and the reason I like these episodes is just because, like you said, they fleshed Jordan out so well, and they fleshed the team out when Jordan wasn't there as well. It really showed not only the emotional side of Jordan, but the side of Jordan where he's not there, and you see how everyone is affected when he isn't on the floor, you know? And when he's not in the locker room.
Yeah, I also just want to say where I see this going is, like, so we've kind of gone season by season from when Jordan was drafted until where we're at now, which is after the first championship, the second three-peat, the 96 championship.
Right.
And we've also kind of sped through the 97-98 season, but what I think is going to happen is that the next episode is going to go into that second championship as well as catch us up to the finals. And then the last episode, because let's be honest, this documentary is called The Last Dance. We haven't really had much about the 97-98 season yet. I think that last episode is going to be solely focused on the 97-98 season. We're going to catch up to the finals, and then also I think we're going to see a little bit of the aftermath too. I don't know if it'll talk too much about Jordan on the Wizards, because that's not what this is about, but yeah. I think we'll talk about the falling out of, you know, Phil doesn't come back, Michael retires again, Pippen leaves, you know, Rodman leaves, and I don't know, we'll see. But I think that's where we're headed. Is I think the next episode will be, you know, the Eastern Conference Finals of the 97-98 season, as well as the 96-97 season recap, and then that last episode will be, you know, catching us up again, and then, you know, the aftermath.
They touched a little bit on his baseball career too, and I didn't realize that he was actually, for a guy that came into the league after not touching a baseball, I think something crazy like they said since he was in
17, it was like 13 years.
Yeah, and he's, you know, he had like an astounding, I think it was like 50 RBIs.
Yeah,
or something.
50 RBIs, he hit 200, which at first glance isn't that impressive, but when you think about the fact they're college kids that, you know, if you drop the number one overall pick in the MLB draft in AA immediately, they're not hitting 202 that season. It's an adjustment period, so his stats don't look too impressive at first glance, but when you think about the circumstances going around it would make sense. Now, would he have ever made Major League Baseball? I don't know, but it was impressive. Also, a nice little, I mean, I knew this, but a lot of people apparently didn't. The fact that Terry Francona, who for baseball fans is a well-known manager around the league, the fact that he was Michael Jordan's manager is kind of funny.
I saw him in a Cleveland Indians.
He was a manager that helped the Red Sox break the 86-year curse in 04.
Oh, okay.
3-0 comeback against the Yankees.
Interesting.
They won another one in 07.
Well, again, you're the baseball guy, so you know more about this stuff than I do. I had no idea who that was. I was just like, oh, I guess he works with the Indians. I was like, I don't know.
But yeah, that was his manager, and then the final 2 episodes of Sunday. So
I'm hyped. I'm honestly pumped. You want to move on to our next one?
Yeah, this is a big one. Do
you want to lead us in? You can lead us in for this one.
For those who didn't hear it, I thought this story would make a little bit more of a splash than it actually did, but Zion Williamson's former marketing agent is now accusing him and his family of taking payments from Duke University as well as Adidas and Nike and before he went to Duke. Duke was obviously paying him to try to get to Duke, and then Nike and Adidas was also paying him to try and influence him to wear their gear during his games. So
you think there was monetary compensation there?
I mean, listen, I don't want to believe it because I think Zion's a great dude, but at the same time, college basketball,
right?
This happens.
That's what I was gonna say. Like we see with these big programs, I'm sure much more stuff happens under the rug that we're not aware of than just the stuff that gets, that gets pressed, or even some of the stuff. Like, wasn't there a similar situation with James Wiseman, where he received compensation and then it was a similar situation. It turned out that it wasn't as sinister or malice because he was really just trying to get to Memphis. It wasn't actually to be enrolled there. He just accepted money to get I think it was...
He was the coach of Memphis, Penny Hardaway, was trying to, which by the way, who was in the documentary last night, Penny Hardaway. Penny Hardaway was helped finance his move to Memphis. I think he shelled out $85,000 to help Wiseman's family move to Memphis like a couple years ago.
And then Chase Young as well, flying his girlfriend out.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, that was a little different though.
But, that was different. I'm saying similar situation, similar situation.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think. So I don't know. We'll see. I think it's obviously not a good look. I don't really care if Zion did or didn't. Like, I don't really care if any of these kids did or didn't. I mean, if somebody's offering you money, pay the money. If you don't get in trouble, you don't get. Like, Zion didn't get in trouble while he was in college, so Zion is never going to get in trouble for this, right?
Right.
And James Wiseman got those allegations unfortunately came out while he was in school, so he got in trouble for it. It is what it is. But I don't really care about Zion in this case. But it is definitely a bad look for Duke because you can add them. I mean, listen, these aren't official NCAA allegations. Duke might never face punishment for this because these aren't official NCAA allegations. These are allegations from another party. So we'll see if the NCAA does anything about this, but this is just, add another blue blood program to the list of people that are
have been exposed.
Paying their players, players to go there.
I think
as well as Adidas jumping right back into the fray, getting in trouble again because the allegations just came out while Rick Pitino was at Louisville that Adidas officially, was trying to get Brian Bowen to go there. So
okay, well, I mean that's another situation right there. I just want to say real quick. I think it's interesting what you said about Zion's character. Right, Zion to me is a man that has morals. Like he doesn't come off as a slimy dude by any means. I think he's a great kid. Like I don't think he would be the type of guy to maybe if they're saying. I'm sure if anything happened, let's just put it this way. If anything happened with Zion and monetary compensation, I don't think it was put in a light where he would understand that it was wrong. You understand what I think both parties are somewhat to blame. I also think that it's very interesting timing with this whole, the fact that he had sued her under I think it was the North Carolina code for athlete.
He hired her as her agency, as his marketing agent, and then it turned out that she wasn't licensed, whether it was in North Carolina or by the NBAPA. So he sued her to try and terminate the relationship, and now she is counterclaiming, saying that, all right, well, if you want to terminate the relationship, then you have to admit that you got this.
So I think, in reality, right, like, I don't think any of the parties in this situation are completely without blame. I think this is more of I want to say like a revenge move in some aspects, maybe by his former agent, because had she have remained with him, would this have come out? I'm going to say no. I'm going to err on the side of definitely not, right? She probably had something to do with it herself, right? If you talk about, meddling with Adidas and Nike and Duke and all this stuff, she most likely had something to do with this. Do I think Zion is completely without blame? No. Zion had to have at least known it was going on because his family, if the reports are true, was getting monetary compensation from Duke and from all these other brands. So it's nobody in this case is really free of judgment or blame.
Well, listen, Zion definitely knew it was wrong. Like, I'm not going to say anything about that. Like, he definitely, or not wrong per se, but he definitely knew that he wasn't supposed to be doing it, right? But this has also been happening forever. Like even Shaq said, like, when he went to LSU way back in the early 90s, LSU bought his mom a house. Like, this has been going on since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I personally don't care about Zion's involvement with this because he isn't in school anymore, so there's nothing to care about whether he admits it or not. there's nothing to care about. And he was only in school for a year, so it's not like he has this like overwhelming college legacy. Like he went to school for a year. They made a little bit of a run in the tournament, but not really. Like when you think about college basketball history, Zion Williamson is going to go down as a guy that was like, oh, he was pretty good. Did some pretty cool dunks, but like he doesn't have this overwhelming legacy from college basketball that's on the line. The people that are really in trouble here are Adidas because they're thrown, as well as Nike, but more Adidas because they are thrown back into the fray of another case after the Louisville thing just happened. Now Adidas is getting thrown into another thing. And Duke, because, you know, they're the program that kind of has to clean this up.
Yeah.
Because, you know, now add them, because they've always been kind of a program that's like, we do it clean. Well, now you don't. Now it's clear you don't. But I think this is actually in the end, not to get too off topic here from Zion.
No, go ahead. We can. I've been meaning to say we can get more off topic with this podcast. We're pretty structured, so we can.
Within the last couple of weeks, right? Like you've seen kids like Jalen Green bypass going to college to get to the G League. I actually think two things. Number one, people have been saying it's starting to be the beginning of an end in college basketball. I don't necessarily agree with that because
March Madness.
Well, yeah, but not only that, like the most memorable college basketball players aren't the kids that stick around for a year. I mean, within the last like 10 national championships, I want to say, like a one and done team has only won like 2 or 3 of them. So it's not like the one and done teams being teams like Kentucky or Duke that bring these freshmen in for a year and then send them to the NBA. Most of the NCAA national champions are not made up of kids that are just doing the 1 year in school to get to the NBA. They're made up of kids that are around for 4 years, juniors and seniors. So, number one, I don't think kids... And number two, if kids bypass to go to the G League, I think that creates less of this because kids like Zion Williamson would not be in college basketball if that G League program was around then, right? So, if those kids that are worth paying aren't around anymore, then schools are no longer illegally paying them. And also, the NCAA, too, is moving towards letting players make money off of their likeness. Anyway. Yeah. So, issues like these are going to go away. Passed. But I really don't think, in the end, this is going to be too much of a big deal for college basketball. I don't know. We'll see.
I have an interesting question for you real quick before we get into our last topic. How do you think the move, or at least the purported move, right, to G League from college, how do you think this changes the landscape of how potential first-round picks like Zion are handled by the media? Do you think they get more media attention or do you think they get less? Because when I think G League, and, this is just me speaking, like, I don't watch the G League that much. Or I'm not sure if it is like a D League, it's a G League program, right? Where they're going in, they can get monetary compensation so they can just take care of their families and all that. So I don't think of the G League that much. Like, I don't watch that. I watch college basketball, but I don't watch G League. So I was interested to get your take on this.
Well, see, it's definitely in some ways beneficial to the player because you get to get paid to play against better competition, right? Because the guys in the G League are all good enough to be in the G League. The guys in college are not all good enough to be in the G League.
Right.
So you're getting paid to play against better competition, but number one, college basketball, as you said, there's a lot more media attention. There's a lot more exposure. Like, I'm not going to go watch the G League now that Jalen Green is in it. I don't care. The G League doesn't really have much of a fan base at this point. It's not like Jalen Green's going to be playing in Los Angeles next year. He's going to be playing in some Midwestern city for a G League affiliate. Like, it is what it is. I mean, it works for the NBA, but it is what it is.
You'd be playing for the New Amsterdam Lobster Catchers or whatever it is.
Right, or the main Red Claws.
Yeah, the main Red Claws.
Right, like, who cares? But, it works for him. But, at the same time, if you want to be on TV, if you want to have some type of legacy that includes a run in college, then college is obviously the way to go. Some kids don't care about that. Some kids view college as a risk because you could get hurt and derail a career playing for free. But personally, I don't really think, because again, Anthony Edwards is probably the number 1 overall pick in the draft, right? When you think about his college career, you won't think about it because it was irrelevant, and that's the majority of these kids. And that's not a knock on them, but it is like the kids that you remember from college basketball are the ones that stick around. So if you lose, every once in a while you're going to get a Zion Williamson or an Anthony Davis that makes a huge impact, but the majority of the time that's not how it is.
Right. Well, great point. Okay, well, I guess we can get into our last topic. This is something we wanted to do a little bit more regular news, or at least just have one or two news segments in there for regular stuff, being that we covered some regular stuff in the last one, but I figured we'd toss this one in here. The Adele weight loss controversy. So Adele lost about 100 pounds. She looks, I don't know if you saw the pictures online, Jerry. She looks fantastic. Like, really good. Lost 100 pounds. She posted a picture for her birthday, or it was either Mother's Day. And a lot of people were complimenting her, rightfully so, about how she had lost the weight, how she looks fantastic, all of that good stuff. And then there was a weird kind of subsection of people that took the people that were complimenting Adele for doing something as brave as losing 100 pounds, and I'll get into that later, as discrediting fat people in entertainment media. Like, I'll give examples like Lizzo. Someone said, and I remember reading some of the comments off of a podcast, like they were reading them, and it's like, so basically what you're saying is, Adele can't be a successful singer as long as she's fat, and once she gets skinny, then you compliment her. And the whole thing is, that's not what they were saying. So it's like, it's so asinine that someone like Adele that did, Jerry, I know since you did track, right? Working out is one of the hardest things to start. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just, if you're trying to lose, even like Adele, 100 pounds, even with a trainer, that's such a hard thing to do. That's a hard thing to get into. That takes a lot of strength. That takes a lot of just a heart, work, motivation to get up every day and do that. People doubt themselves too. I mean, it's no easy feat losing that much weight. And for someone to discredit her losing weight by saying that someone that's rightfully congratulating her for getting up every day and doing what she does and losing all of that, it's just stupid. It's really dumb. Like, I don't know if you saw or you got the basic rundown, but I guess I was going to ask for your opinion because it's really just ridiculous. It's really stupid that someone could twist it that way.
I mean, she looks good now, but, she was a good singer before, too. Like, I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Nobody was saying that she wasn't. I think that's where people get there's a misconception.
Like, I don't know if she's ever going to hit her early 2000, like 5-6 years ago, Adele was the biggest singer out there. Like, when she had songs like Rolling in the Deep out there, like, she was pumping out number one hits on like a monthly basis. Like, I don't know if she's ever gonna hit that peak again. I certainly don't think that she's gonna hit that peak again because she got skinnier. I don't know. She looks good. Like, just, it is what it is. Like, she looks good. She lost weight because she wanted to. Like, just because she did doesn't mean everybody else has to.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, she felt that losing weight was important to her. If you don't, then it's not important to you. Like, it's not important to me. I personally don't care. I'm not going to lose over sleep because, this person. Like, I don't care. If Adele wanted to lose weight, great for her. If you don't want to lose weight, great for you. It's a personal choice.
It's whatever. It's about whatever makes people feel comfortable, right? If you're comfortable with, a heavier set body, that's fine, and nobody's taking that away from you. But I feel like these are the type of people where, and I've been reading up a lot about this, and I've been seeing all the podcasts, like people. I think the people that are doing this, and I agree with the people I was listening to, the people that are having an issue with this whole Adele weight loss thing are probably, and I don't mean to sound callous, I don't mean to sound mean, they're probably very, very insecure with the way, perhaps with their weight. And they see Adele coming out of it as like, oh, well, we lost one of our benchmark figures, right? Because if you think, what has Lizzo built her career off of? What was her number one hit song that like got her big?
Truth Hurts.
Right. And that's when the main through line of the song was like, I'm big, but I'm gonna I still have confidence. Doesn't matter what you look like. And that's a great message to be putting out, right? But I think what people view this as is someone that's necessarily overweight, doesn't have the motivation or physically, there's some people with conditions where they can't lose the weight, and I'm not taking anything away from those people. I think those people just felt a little bit not attacked, but they felt like they're being left behind in a sense, if that makes any sense. So they were kind of lashing out against the people who were just congratulating Adele, and that's where I take problem with it.
Like, I don't care what type of body type you are. Like, I make fun of body shaming because it's stupid. Like, don't body shame. Like, most people can't control the way they are. But, like,
right.
She went out and changed the way she looked because she felt better about herself. But that doesn't mean you have to. Like, I don't know. I think it's a non-issue. I think skinny shaming is ridiculous. I think fat shaming is ridiculous. I don't know. I don't really care. Like, this is like a when you told me about this and I like looked it up. Like, I was like, I was reading some story. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
it's dumb.
Do you think this
You
was?
know what I mean?
You think this was skinny shaming?
Oh,
A little bit.
well,
It was
yeah,
like a little
no,
taste of it.
yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, like, it's the same thing where it's like I don't know, like if an actor who's kind of like, on the skinnier side goes out, or on the bigger side and goes out and gets like extremely jacked and in shape for some action movie that they're doing. Am I gonna go yell at him because like he was skinny before and now he's super jacked? And no, I don't care. Like, I don't care.
Right, but also I think it's interesting that you brought up fat people. I don't want. I'm not trying to be insensitive. Heavier set people in the movie, the film, maybe even the comedy industry, right? I think there is some cadence to the argument that they get less of a fighting chance because they might be bigger. I think that's where people that are lobbying for that, they have a dog in that fight. They have a horse in that race, where they have a point that fat people or people that are heavier set might not get the same roles as someone like, if you have like Brad Pitt versus, I'm trying to think of like a heavier actor that's still really talented. Jonah Hill. That's immediately where my mind went to. Actually, Jonah Hill looks really good now. He has a beard and he has he might not get the same roles. He might get typecast as someone else, So there's some cadence to that argument, but to sit there and meld it into something that it's not is just really ridiculous.
I mean, she lost weight. I don't really know why people got all up in arms about it. She got weight. She lost weight. She posted because she wanted to be praised, which I don't really know. I don't really care. Like,
well, that's a whole other thing. I don't.
She looks so, like, I don't know. She thinks she looks good now, so it is what it is. If you think you look good, then don't change.
Yeah. I 100%. Look, I'm not saying that everyone should get skinny, but it's whatever makes you comfortable. Like you were saying, it's whatever makes you comfortable at the end of the day. Alrighty. Well, I mean, I guess with that going off with a bang, did you have any closing comments before we end the show? Any I know we were talking about potentially touching on North Korea and Kim Jong-un.
I mean, there were rumors last week that he was like trying to
play dead,
fake his death to get figure out who the fakes are in his group. I wasn't able to find any stories about that today, so I don't know if that's still the true thing running around. But
I don't know if that was a meme or not.
Kim Jong-un. So
I was gonna say that's a very Kim Jong-un thing to do for a guy that I think didn't he throw his father or his brother to like wolves or something like that, something wild.
They're also claiming that he could be using a body double now too. Who knows if he's even still alive? Maybe we'll never know. But I mean, he could die 70. His body double could die 7 years from now, and we'll find out that he died at like 20. Maybe he's been dead for years. Like, who even knows?
Maybe he's chilling out in Cuba. We're gonna find out his body double dies, and then the real Kim Jong Un's actually alive, just chilling somewhere on a beach.
Like hiding out in like some island off the coast of Tanzania or whatever that country is called.
One of the Virgin Islands.
I don't even know. Yeah, like, who even knows?
The guy at the bar at the resort he's staying, it's like, that guy looks a lot like Kim Jong-un. Just, but,
yeah.
Wild.
The NFL schedule dropped, so.
Oh, wait, okay. What was I going to say? I saw some of the matchups, and there's some interesting matchups. I think there was, like, Seahawks at Cowboys. That should be good.
Well, here's the interesting tidbit that I took away from it. You ready? And the NFL claims they didn't do this on purpose, but they definitely did this on purpose. The Patriots and the Buccaneers do not play at the same time until like week 15.
You think it's
weeks 1 through 14? You can watch both the Patriots game and the Buccaneers game, like, without there being any conflict. Like, they play at different times every single week until week 15. That's, I mean.
And you said the NFL said they didn't have anything to do with it?
They claim they didn't. They claim they didn't do that on purpose, but
I don't know about that.
I don't know.
That seems pretty purposeful.
It helps that they're both playing like 5-time prime time games, but yeah, I mean, they claim they didn't do that on purpose, but they definitely did that on purpose.
Yeah, you never know. Well,
but I'm excited for it.
I'm excited for the NFL coming back too. Honestly, any sports. I was really like happy when UFC came back. Really, really happy, especially because like it's one of my favorite sports too. So it really came at a really good time. And also, real quick before we stop, I liked not having crowds in there and hearing the smack of the kicks. That was really interesting. And like hearing the corners talking, and like at one point Daniel Cormier, one of the guys doing commentary, legendary heavyweight and light heavyweight fighter, will go down as one of the greatest of all time in mixed martial arts, was like talking about, I think it was in the Jorgen De Castro and Greg Hardy fight, he was talking about how Greg Hardy needed to check more kicks. And then after the fight ended, Greg Hardy said, "Yeah, I heard DC talking about in the commentary."
Said that too.
Yeah,
said that too.
And he was like, "Yeah, so I just started checking kicks and I won the fight." But it was really interesting, and it's gonna be cool to see how that plays out too.
Yeah, I'm excited though. I'm excited. It was a good weekend for sports, and it sounds like, if baseball is, I mean, there's a lot of hurdles to jump through for baseball, but if they're able to get this plan in place, like agree with the players on it, and then get government approval on it, which I think they will.
Yeah, Trump's
seems
pretty
to be full on.
Yeah.
Get our sports back. I think, once if MLB is able to get it through, then I think they open the door for not just themselves, but I think pretty much every sport to come back. And fans, obviously, I'd rather the fans be there, but I'll watch a game without fans.
100%. I'll watch the game without fans.
I just don't want to be staying up until 2 a.m. to watch Korean baseball anymore.
Korean baseball. How's that going? How's your team doing?
The LG Twins, we had an okay weekend. Split it with the Dinos.
We had an okay. Oh my god, I love it. I love this. You got to be our man on the street KBO reporter.
The Dinos are going to be a fierce competition this year. I could see the league coming down to its two most popular teams in America, which are the Dinos and the Twins. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. And also, Mookie Betts made an appearance on The Last Dance last night.
I saw you tweeted something. It was like, I still miss you. I still miss him. It was like at 1 a.m. or something, or was it? I can't remember.
No, it was during the talk. I was like, that's the worst. Why is Mookie Betts even on this?
Oh, you know why? I thought it was
because it was baseball, but
I thought it was on at 1 because I woke up. True story for everyone listening. I'm gonna expose myself.
They play a replay.
They not only did they play a replay, but I didn't watch the replay. The reason I woke up was I had a night terror. I woke up oh my god, and I kicked over my oscillating fan. Just straight up, just karate kicked it, and I was like, "What the hell am I doing?" They're getting bad, man. So we're gonna. Yeah, no, we're gonna have to monitor that on the podcast as well. But this has been the episode 3 of the Low Down podcast. You can check us out on iTunes and YouTube. Link down below for the iTunes page. Subscribe here, comment here, rate our podcast on iTunes. Subscribe there as well. All good stuff. We have our Twitter handles. Oh, I just bumped the mic. We have our Twitter handles down here, right on the overlay. So go check those out. Give us a follow. Gerry does a really good sports blog. I just post about new stuff and about how I'm feeling. So go check us out there. And guys, we will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good night. All right. Stay safe. Stay healthy.
Resign Mookie 2020. Thank you.
That was good.
Back in my face, I gotta do what I gotta do.